Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. My name's Frank, working on the Cub Cadet Mini bulldozer. If you were here last time, you saw that we mocked up several track pads. So we put together 3 pads, and I added some overlap strips, which, as you can see here, is overlapping in the wrong direction. So that's the issue with these overlap strips. They can get overlap in the wrong direction. So going to abandon that idea and just for the time being go with the straight flat pads. I can add grousers at some future point if I decide to. My plan is to weld them on. Back here you can see that the track pad is 1/4 inch steel, roughly 4.5 by 10. This backer plate is 3/8 inch and it is 3.5 by 7, and it has notches cut out here so the chain can go past flat and the track can go concave. So that's just a clearance notch. And these are just tacked together. The task I'm working on right now is cutting out some more of those tracks backing plates. And I've got a sheet, or it's a 1/4 sheet, 2 by 4 foot piece of 3/8 inch on the table. You can see where we cut 3 out last time. Just going to go through and run the table, basically cut out as many as I can from this sheet. If I'm correct, I think I can get 36 out of this sheet if I remember my measurements. But we're going to get as many as we can. The plasma cutter finished cutting the track pad backers for the first track. I wound up with 33 good ones and one that didn't quite complete. It only got etched, and it looked like the torch height was off, as opposed to being down a 1/10 of an inch, about a 1/10 of an inch or 15/100ths of an inch above the plate. It was like 1/2 an inch high, I noticed. So it didn't cut through this one. So this is probably a loss. I might be able to cut it out with I might take a grinder disc, cut off disc, and cut that out. I could probably do that. So save this one. it worked pretty well. Some of these have very little dross on them. Some have, you know, a lot more. I think my consumables were giving out. You know, the electrode and the nozzle are expendable consumables, and I had on that 83 pierces and 41 minutes of cut time just now on this plate, and I have used that nozzle electrode for the other 3 track backers that I cut in the last episode. I had just put a new nozzle and electrode in the torch then. So, you know, this is an indication. I'm going to start keeping track now of how much cut time I can run before I start getting issues with the electrodes. I'm going to take the electrode out. The nozzle doesn't look too bad. No, I don't think the electrode looks terrible either, but it does look similar to other electrodes that I've had to change. It has those little swirl marks on the end. So that's about the point I've been changing electrodes. And it does look like the nozzle here has gotten a lot bigger. Let me compare that to a new one. Yeah, so there's definitely a difference in nozzle size between those two. So I think, I do believe they're worn out then. Okay, well, I mean, that's important to know so that I can expect, you know, in order to determine what I can expect in terms of cutting capability before I need to change my electrode and nozzle. So, okay. They go to the used component bin, and I'll put new ones on. Okay, we'll come back to work on these track risers, and I also need to cut out track pads. So remember, I need 31 track pads for each side. Got enough backers for one side. I need to cut out the pads themselves for that side. Build one track. So we'll come back and working on that. I'm going to take a break from the plasma table for a bit this morning and work on the grill casting and the hood nose. I'm just going to give them a little sanding, and then we'll prime them with the rust reformer primer and let that dry, and then we'll come back tomorrow probably, or the next day or so anyway, and hit it with a coat of white paint. And I'll also go ahead and paint these, the hood and the dash as well. We'll get that taken care of. I'm getting ready. All right, so that's just the first light coat of white paint. Going to ventilate the building here. Put my doggy door in so the dogs can't escape. And then open the a couple of the garage doors and let the fumes out. All right, so first coat, well actually only coat of the primer on the grill assembly and the first coat of white on the hood. The nose piece, the hood nose piece, is aluminum, so the rust reformer primer doesn't, I mean, I guess it would work as a primer, but there's no rust on the aluminum, obviously. So, okay, we'll put a piece of metal up on the plasma table. All right. It didn't take long, 5 minutes. So that's a 1/4 inch sheet. We're going to cut some track pads out of that. All right, so I've got 20, just finished tacking up 28 track pads, and I've got the 3 prototype pads, which I'll go ahead and cut off the chain here, and I'll use those 3. So that gives me 31 total, which is what I need for the first track. So we'll come back, I'll weld these up completely, or I think my plan is to weld the 2 ends of the backer pad. That should be plenty. Then we'll come back. I don't know if we're going to get to it in this episode or next episode, but the next step obviously is to weld these to the chain. All right, on the we'll tractor. Oh, look who's here. Brew Brew. What's going on, Brew Brew? Huh? Yeah? You being a good boy? Yeah, you being my good puppy. What you been doing? You been getting in any trouble outside? Huh? Been getting in any trouble? Where's Butchie? Where's Butchie? Huh? Coming in to check on me. It's a little rainy, cold and rainy outside today. So, all right, as I was saying, I've got the dash mounted here. I do need to tighten up a couple bolts over there. These tractors came with a reinforcement plate that fits across here, and I have to look around again to see if I have one. But if I don't, I'm going to have to make a plate. Bolts into the metal part of the frame here, and stiffens up the dash. If I don't do that, it's just going to move all around. So I'll look for that. I have already hooked up the choke and the throttle, and the choke here, and you can see it operates the choke plate in the carb, and then the throttle operates the throttle. So those cables are hooked up. I was just diagnosing the wiring harness here, just making sure I had all the correct connections, and I believe this wire is, and I'll splice into it and run it to the headlights. That's what that is. The input power for that is this plug on the other side. So I do need to mount a switch, run power to it, and then from here it runs forward to the forward headlights, and then there's also a lead on the harness which runs to the tail lights. This goes to the starter generator. This is the other starter generator lead. So I'm just working out the electrical here. So those will go to the starter generator. I do need to extend the battery cable back to where the battery is going to be. So the battery is going to be under the rear seat. And my plan for this is I don't know what to call it. There will be, the seat's going to be raised up about 3 more inches. Maybe, at least. Maybe a little bit more. I'm going to build a sheet metal, and it'll probably be, this part probably be 3/16 sheet metal enclosure around the seat, and so that it'll look more like the rear end of a bulldozer. So there's more sheet metal work to be done here for the seat area, and of course there's work to be done on the front end as well when we start work on mounting the blade assembly. And that's a little ways off still. We got to get this thing running. And of course there'll be a cover over this area here. These operating control shafts will be extended up probably another foot. Well, look who's back. You back for some more, for some Some hugs, huh? You good boy. You're my good puppy. Yeah. Did you ever find Butchie? These two dogs, Butchie and Brutus, they're just the sweetest, sweetest animals. I love the German Shepherds. We've always had German Shepherds. We've had, over the past 45 years, we've had at least a dozen. We've always had 2 or 3 German Shepherds, and they are just the greatest dogs. And, you know, not to say that any other breed isn't great too, but I don't know that much about, you know, most of the other breeds. So, kind of partial to German Shepherds. Okay, so I'm gonna put the air cleaner on here. I do need to take a break and look for I went upstairs to my storage area and I didn't see the reinforcement bracket there. I did get the grill mounted temporarily here. I was working on the hood. I've got the hood and the nose assembled, and it's got a second coat of paint on it. I think you saw me make a couple of T-bolts. So here are the T-bolts. They hook under here and come up through the hood nose and hold the nose, and then there's one other bolt that holds the nose to the hood. The last thing is the hinge, which will attach here, and then also to the grill casting. So we'll work on that as well. All right, I'm going to look for that brace. I'll be back with you shortly. All right, so I found the brace I was looking for. Actually, I found 2 of them. So all right, that provides a lot of rigidity. All right, so here's the hood fit sitting on the grill casting and the dash, so that all looks like it meets up good. All right. What I'm working on now is the fuel tank installation. And this is a bit of a challenge. There you can see the fuel tank. So it has to be gravity feed, or I'm planning on gravity feed from here. This is the carburetor here, so it's above the carburetor, so that should work fine. And actually I've got a couple inches of clearance. I may mount it a couple inches higher. So I have a pair of brackets. So here's a pair of brackets that support the tank, and I need to attach them, you know, behind the grill here. So that's my next task. I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and put the hinge on the grill and get that attached, and so that I can see how much space I have above this. I think I have a few inches. I'm building the support frame for the fuel tank brackets. So I've got 2 pieces of bar stock here, and then one across here, and this one will bolt to the top here, and we weld it to the back of these, and then I've got short pieces here that will be bolted through the bolts at the bottom. So this one will go right here like that, and so then we'll bolt or weld these brackets probably about there. Actually, this one will go on this side, and these 2 brackets, I have 2 of them, right? They'll support the fuel tank. All right. That drill bit's getting a little bit dull. I'm having to apply too much tool pressure. I'm gonna need to sharpen it. All right, so we can take these back over the bench. Okay. All right, I'm going to clean this back surface up a little bit so I get electrical contact so I can weld, and I'll probably just plug weld it through these two holes, maybe along the edge. Make sure it clears. Yeah. All right, that clears fine. There's about 1.5 inches from here to the inside of the hood. All right. Probably, yeah, going to have to shift the tank this way about 1 inch in order to access the hole for the connection. But that's fine. All right, I'm going to go ahead and add some weld metal there. I do need to clean up the fuel tank. The fuel tank, as you can see, is covered with flaking paint. It's been up in the attic for a couple of years. It's bone dry, so I'll take a stripper wheel to it and clean it up and repaint it before we put it on. All right, so I'll probably do that off camera. All right, that's about it for this week. I'll leave you with some welding of the track pads. Do most of that off camera and bring you back next episode with those complete or nearly complete. Then we can start welding them to the track chain. That'll be the next step. I'm going to weld up all these pads first, and then we'll weld them to the chain. I appreciate you guys watching. Subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss upcoming episodes. And a like and a comment would be great. I read all the comments and answer all the questions, or at least as many as I can. So we'll see you guys next time.